Hi and welcome back to Living Breathe Horses. Today I'm sitting in the paddock with Triunfo and Galileo. But I'm sitting behind the stone wall or by it, sheltering from the wall and some old trees because it's so windy and it really messes with the sound. Anyway, let's see if it's sheltered enough in here. So today we're talking about danger. Dangerous horses, the danger of too much theory, the danger of labeling, and the danger of good intentions. This it comes back to me often, actually, this topic, and it came really strongly in the dangerous sense with a recent visitor. So I was delighted. Oh, here's Toad. Look, were you barking? Did you see me sitting here and wondered what it was? We had a visitor all the way from Mexico, friend of the owner of the place where we're staying right now. And I was really excited to discover that this visitor was an experienced horse therapist and equine assistant therapist. So basically therapist for people and horses. So I love this because then I get to learn stuff as well, you know, it's great. Of course, every time I teach someone, every time I work a horse, practice with my horse, I learn stuff. But, you know, somebody like this coming was quite exciting. Anyway, the guy arrived and I was feeding the horses at the time. And he came around and Triunfo has always had this thing at feeding time that he gets really like that grumpy face and ears back and looks all unsettled. And I reckon it's because when he was young, or for a good part of his early life, he lived in one of those closed-in barns, and I know the place where he was, they don't have any turnout. And a lot of them don't get exercised every day or even every week sometimes. I mean, this is going back years. I think conditions have improved. But anyway, so for Triunfo, in the very back corner stable, behind bars and with walls on both sides so he couldn't touch his neighbours and he couldn't put his head out the door, the only thing that happened a lot of the days was that the food comes. So of course you get all anxious and in a big state about the food. It's exciting. It's the only thing that happens. And that's my theory of why he still has this reaction with food. Anyway, he is the sweetest of horses, as you know. So this guy says, oh, you better watch out with that horse. He's dangerous. And I said, oh, don't be daft. He's my best. He was always my best pony club horse. You know, all the kids loved him because he was easy to handle and, you know, to mess around with him and do everything with him. You know, I would go and lie under his feet and he would gently step over me if anything happened. He is definitely, on no stretch of the imagination, dangerous. This guy didn't hear me out and he started mansplaining. If you don't know what mansplaining is yet, well, I think you can already guess. So he was absolutely convinced on this point, and we did talk about it again, but he just came back on that thing. And even when I tried to say, you know, that was just a moment. You can't, and even the way he was doing it, you know, you could see, well, I could see clearly, he wasn't threatening anybody. It was an internal angst of his. He wasn't like going for the person feeding or the next horse or anything like that. Anyway, so that was a bit of a kind of moment, really. And this guy was absolutely convinced, you know. And why was he absolutely convinced? Because he'd obviously done some kind of training, whatever his therapist training on both levels was. And it's the clear sign, you know, ears back, facial, all the things that tells you the horse is dangerous. Or that moment is dangerous, right? And of course, is it? Is it? You have to assess that with everything else. You know, as Tom Dorrance always says, it always depends. It always depends. You can't just say that. But let's take it to the danger of labeling then. So if we say, yes, this horse is dangerous, and we try to treat the horse as being dangerous, what do we create? I had this with a client a few years ago, and she called me to come and see an Arab mare who she said was dangerous and attacking other horses, had started attacking people, couldn't be trusted. So of course they were going in the field and approaching her as if she was dangerous because that's what they believed. and from what they said, from what was their experience with the horse. So they were approaching her very much defensive, very much, oh, watch out, be careful. And of course, she was reacting straight off that, responding actually off that by getting all defensive herself. And this is a fiery mare. So another type of horse may have got scared and run away, or just gone into freeze and been stoic and put up with it. But she, being a fiery Arab mare, and the herd leader, said, I'm having none of this. I'm going to defend myself. You know, horses don't want to be mean. They don't want to be in that position any more than we do of being at battle. You know, we want just to be peaceful and feel safe. So does the horse. Anyway, we went out of the field and I said, come on, let's just sit down, do some breathing, and let's just sit and observe the horses and just watch them. And just look at that mare and look how beautiful is she. She was absolutely stunning. And let your heart fill with the love for her. And then we went in just a little way and we didn't force ourselves into her space. And anyway, on it went. And of course, we could approach her without any classic danger reactions, let's call them. Yeah. And that's another story. The rest of that story is maybe a whole other story for another day. And, you know, this guy also, I believe people are just doing their best. And he had every good intention. You know, so for me, it's the danger of too much theory without practical practice, without being out there and doing it. And this might be the thing I most say to students. To adults anyway, not to kids, to adults, so often, especially if they've started riding as an adult or gone back to it as an adult and they've had a long break, is that their theoretical knowledge is way ahead of their practice. And, you know, this really causes a danger because you're just missing things and you're not doing the things you should be doing. If we just do it like we're kids, it'd be so much easier. But, yeah, I know people have very good intentions and they want to learn, and it's great. It's brilliant to be keen and read every book and watch every video and do every online course, but keep the practice going, you know? That's the thing. That's what really matters, you know? That Mexican guy, and later on that day, we were doing some of the horses and he went to try and catch Umo, and Umo was having none of it. And just like went off, and he kind of just stood there looking, and I was so tempted to say to him, get your diploma out, show him your certificate. I resisted. That's not a nice thing to do, is it? No, well, but just sometimes, you know, it's just like, really, you know, horses don't care about what you know and your certificates and trainings and exams and what you've done and what you've won, and they just care about how you make them feel. And if you make them feel dangerous, then that's not a good place to be. So, you know, good intentions can be dangerous because you can then mess up a horse because of that. And the horse world of stables and competitions and exhibitions and all these things is so full of people, full of good intentions, and lots of advice. You know, you see it everywhere you go, people watching, and they're all critical and, well, they should be doing that, and I would do this, and you could do that, blah, 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 blah. You know, and if that person just got off the horse and handed, said, okay, on you go then, you know, really? Anyway, that's another thing. I don't know if that goes beyond, maybe those people are not having good, well, probably they are having good intentions and thinking they can be helpful. I have a lot of people say this to me about being in livery yards, that, you know, everybody's telling me different things and everybody's telling me what to do and I just don't know what to do anymore. So yeah, I'm guessing most of those people are doing it with the best of intentions. But, you know, where is their practice? Is, what did they say? Put your money where your mouth is. Well, let's see what you're up for, you know, beyond what you say. Anyway, that is our little talk about danger for the day. All that being said, of course, to be aware that horses are inherently dangerous only because of their sheer size, you know. A big horse is like half a ton. I mean, even a little pony's quarter of a ton. And of course, that has its danger. The father of my kids was feeding the horses for me one night when I was away. and one of them got spooked and did that spin around and gallop off thing, you know, where they'd spin around, kick their feet up and gallop off. So the horse was not meaning to kick him on any level, but he caught him right here on the side of the head, and blood started pouring out of his ears. Luckily, he shouted my neighbour who was there, and she got him to hospital. But they said if it had been like half a centimetre, tiny bit, either further forward or back, I can't remember, he would have just dropped dead on the spot. And I have several friends, and even my teacher, who were killed in horse accidents of various kinds. One practicing capriola and got kicked in the head. So, of course, they're dangerous. You know, if they just stand on your foot unwittingly or knock you over just because of their size, even when they're not trying to hurt us in any way or got any intention to do that, just because they're so big and heavy, of course they can easily hurt us. So it's to be aware that there always can be a danger, but not to look for it where it isn't. Always to look for the best and the goodness in the horse, you know, and know that the ones that are behaving that might seem dangerous, it's not because they want to be like that, you know, it's because that's how they've come to defend themselves. I don't know if any horses are actually born bad and dangerous, or if it's always humans make them like that. I don't know, maybe somebody knows that. Anyway, that's all from Live and Breathe Horses today. I hope the sound's okay. Those two are just over there now. They're not as far away as they look in the video. I think I might just spend some time sitting with them. It's so lovely out here today, warm and sunny, and nice brisk breeze at the same time. See you next time.